Okay guys, last video for this next week or so. So what I want to do right now is talk about the format of the how-to speech. So you'll need the second page of your how-to speech rubric, and then also, like I said, page 340 and 341, we'll talk about that stuff too. Okay, so just like the last speech, this speech has an intro, a body, and a conclusion. We're going to add a few parts to the introduction though. So again, please make sure you have the rubric so you're following along with me while I'm talking about these. Okay, so first thing that you do, first part of your speech in the introduction is your attention getter. A few of you for the last speech, you could have had a little bit stronger attention getters. You don't want to say, hi, I'm Danielle, I'm going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. That should not be the first thing that you say. Or if it is, then do a reset and then go into the attention getter. But the attention getter should grab the audience's attention right away. And again, it can be a story, it can be a startling fact or statistic, it can be a joke, it can be something that you do, or a noise or something like that. But you want to make sure that it's a strong attention getter that's getting the audience's attention. The next thing that you have is your topic sentence or your thesis sentence. So this is one sentence and it tells the audience what the main thing that you're doing in the speech is. Today I'm going to teach you how to make bread. Today I'm going to show you how to do some yoga. Today I'm going to teach you how to throw a baseball, whatever. Okay, so just like last time, your thesis sentence or your topic sentence, one sentence that says the main idea of your speech. Now we're going to add a couple of new things to this next speech. So you'll notice that number 3 on the list of things for your intro is called a credibility statement. This we did not have in the last speech. So the purpose of your credibility statement is to let the audience know why you are a credible person to talk about this. And sometimes you won't need a credibility statement because somebody will introduce you. So if you're in a situation where somebody introduces you and they say, well, Dr. Johnson has a PhD in psychology from Northern Illinois University, and she has been teaching communications class for the last 20 years, and blah, 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 blah. So if you have somebody that comes in and introduces you and kind of gives your credentials ahead of time, then you might not need, like the credibility statement might not be important. It might be depending on what you're doing. But probably not. But for these speeches, there is no introduction to you. So you have to let us, the audience, know why you're credible. So the purpose of the credibility statement is, here's an audience full of people, okay? They're deciding whether or not they want to listen to your information and whether or not they want to trust your information. And so you have to let them know why you know what you're talking about. And so there's a couple of ways to do that. So sometimes we do that. We establish credibility by using like degrees. So if you are teaching us how to do CPR and you are an EMT, then you probably have learned some stuff about doing CPR. So you might have that credential, or if you've taken a class on something, or if you have a certificate or that type of thing. Great. Sometimes it has to do with experience. All right. If I came in today and I said, all right, guys, today I'm going to teach you how to change your oil. I watched a YouTube video last night on how to change your oil, and so I'm really good at it now, and so I want to teach you how to do it. That's not very credible, right? But if I say, hi guys, I'm going to teach you how to change your oil today. I'm from a family of mechanics. My dad's a mechanic, my brother's a mechanic, my uncle's a mechanic. They owned a shop growing up. And so for my summer job growing up, I would go and help out in the shop. By the time I was 16, I was doing oil changes and changing spark plugs and doing some basic stuff like that. So I've done a lot of oil changes. And so today I'm going to teach you how to do that. That is version 2 of that story is much more credible than version 1 of that story. So, you know, credibility might just be how much experience you have, how long you've been doing it. I have made sourdough bread 42 times, you know what I mean? Or I make it every family get together or whatever. I have been playing baseball on this team for however long. I have been shooting basketball since I was 3 years old. I have been doing yoga for the last, twice a week for the last 2 years, whatever it is. What makes you a good person, a qualified person, a quote unquote expert to teach the class on whatever it is you're talking about? And so again, when you're thinking about choosing your topic, you want to have that credibility, right? So you want to choose something that you're already good at, that you already have that credibility with. Okay, so for your credibility statement in the introduction, it should be usually a sentence, but sometimes 2 or 3. I would say no more than 3, then we're getting a little outside the scope, at least, of this classroom assignment. That tell us how you know, whatever it is you're teaching us, tell us what makes you good at teaching us that, what makes you an expert, what qualifications do you have? Okay, so that's the credibility statement. The next thing that you see is the motivation statement or the personal relevance statement. And so that's where we're going to use chapters 340 and 341 in your book. So I'm going to start with an example here. Well, first I'm going to start with the thing in your book. So this is, you've probably seen this before. Wow. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you've taken an intro psych class before, I'm sure that you have seen this, oftentimes in intro psych classes. Maybe in English class you've seen it before. We're going to talk about it here. So Maslow was a psychologist, and he was interested in humans becoming, he was a humanistic psychologist, and he was interested in humans becoming the best thems they could become. And so Maslow was interested in what motivates humans. And he looked at kind of universal motivators. So he was interested in things that motivated most people. So he was looking at the human species in general versus more specific motivators. And so what he came up with was what he called a hierarchy of needs. And fun fact, Maslow, the books get a little wrong. He actually didn't really talk about it as hierarchical as most of the books talk about, if you really study Maslow in depth, but we're not going to get too into that. Things in your textbooks are not always exactly accurate. And so you should remember that as you're progressing through your college career. This is just a total side note. That sometimes when you're learning stuff at the most basic level, it's really much more complicated than that when it gets to more levels. But that's just the way we teach it in the intro class. Anyway, that was a total tangent. Okay, so Maslow said there's things that motivate all people. And he put them, he said there's 5 different levels of things. And again, later he actually amended it to 7 levels, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so the 5 levels. On the first level, the most basic things that humans need, physiological needs, sometimes depending on the book that you're looking at, our book says physiological needs, but they're sometimes called biological needs or survival needs. This is anything that you need to continue to be a living human being. So water, food, air to breathe, vitamins and minerals, nutrients, that usually comes from food. Sleep, can't go very long without sleep. I think like 3 days or something you can go without sleep. So anything that you need to keep you surviving as a human would be in this bottom category. And again, these are the most basic needs. If you don't have these, it's hard to think about anything else. Like if you can't breathe, like you're really not thinking about anything else besides what can I do to breathe again. If you haven't eaten, and usually most people 10 hours or so, but sometimes even like a day maybe, your body's starting to go, oh, I think I need some food. And food tends to be, once you get real hungry, food tends to be always on your mind. If you are thirsty, if you are missing nutrients, you'll start having cravings, these types of things. So those are the most basic needs. And once those needs are satisfied, Maslow said you can move up to the next level, which are the safety needs. So safety, sometimes called security needs. And this relates to physical safety, but also psychological safety. And the lines here get a little blurry. So physical safety, protection from the elements, protection from the rain and the snow. And again, this can depending on how extreme this is, it can go down into survival. If you freeze in the cold, I think he would call that a physiological need. But but safety needs can be, protection from other people, protection, that type of way, physical protection, but it can also be psychological protection. Like if you don't feel safe, you know, in your neighborhood because somebody might break in or because there's gunfire or that type of thing, then that's a psychological safety need that needs to be met. Okay, so once you have these safety needs, both physical and psychological safety, the next level is called social needs, or sometimes belongingness needs. So Maslow said we are social creatures. Primates live in groups and we communicate, and so humans are very social. And so we need other people. We need other people to teach us things, to help us grow. We need other people for physical and psychological comfort, to keep our brains active so we can talk to people, to work out problems of our day, all these types of things. And if you study social psychology very much, you'll find that there are very, very detrimental effects to people who are socially isolated. And we're not talking like an introvert who may prefer to stay home and read a book rather than go to a big party. We're talking about, solitary confinement, or babies who grew up in adoption agencies and were like not held for the first 2 years of their lives or whatever. People who are, did you guys see Castaway? Stranded on a desert island. That doesn't happen very often, but we see these psychological effects to people who don't have human interaction. And ironically enough, well, not ironic, but we might be starting to see these happen now. Now, I know we have the internet right now, and so there's lots of interaction going on through Skype or Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever people are doing. But we're seeing some people who are having a really hard time without interacting with people, or having a hard time not doing it. People are going to parties and that type of stuff. So our drive for connection, human connection to other things is pretty strong. Okay, so the next level above that, Maslow would say, are status or esteem needs. And so these are things that make us feel good about ourselves. We want to be respected by others. We want to have people look up to us. We want people to learn from us. We want people to respect us. And so some people, and you can get these from a variety of places. The kind of obvious thing that comes to mind is like being really good at your job, but you could be really good at school. You could be a really good mom. You could be really good at Fortnite, or whatever it is. There's lots of things that you can get esteem from other people because of something that you're doing well. And then the fifth level, the final hierarchy you see up there or the top of the hierarchy that you see there, is called self-actualization. And so self-actualization is the pinnacle according to this version of Maslow's hierarchy. And self-actualization is basically, Oprah would say, be your best self, right? Self-actualization is realizing your best self. And so the self-actualized person, they are completely sure of themselves. They know they have good things, they know they have bad things, but they are okay with it. Yeah, I'm not great at this. I'm pretty good at this. They don't have a lot of ego involved when they're talking to people, they're pretty laid back as far as, this is life, this is how things happen, change happens, these types of things, they're okay with that. They tend to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not very individualistic, tied into their ego. They tend to take the larger goals, the societal goals, or the global goals in mind versus I want to get a new big TV. They might think about how they can benefit the greater good versus their individual selves. And again, if right now you are really into wanting to have a big TV, if that's like a goal that you have, that's fine. That is a stage along the development of self-actualization. Most people don't ever reach self-actualization, according to Maslow. Most people get stuck on one of the lower levels. And even the people who do get up there, you know, I don't think anybody's ever been completely self-actualized. Like Gandhi got mad sometimes, you know what I mean? Like Gandhi did things that, you know, he had to work on it. Mr. Rogers, have any of you guys seen the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood movie that's out right now? There's a great scene in there where Mrs. Rogers says, you know, well, he works hard at it. He gets mad sometimes. He, not a saint, he is a human who mindfully tries to be better all the time. And so this is what self-actualization is. So again, like Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Maya Angelou, probably Martin Luther King Jr. So these are the types of people that might be self-actualized. And again, in some aspects, but not always in all the aspects. So a self-actualized person, again, when they use humor, they usually aren't doing it to be like snarky to somebody else. You know, it's fun-loving humor. Typically, they have some sort of belief in a higher power. I bet Einstein was pretty self-actualized. It doesn't necessarily have to be God, okay? But there's some sense of like the universe being bigger than just myself in there. And again, this relates to kind of letting go and dissolving that ego and just kind of not just, I mean, if somebody cuts you off, like it's not your favorite, but like, don't hang on to the anger, that kind of thing. So anyway, self-actualized is the highest level. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this hierarchy, according to Maslow, these are things that everybody needs, everybody strives for. Okay, so how does this relate to your speech? Well, let me use an example. So let's say I came to you today and I said, all right, guys, I have a lecture. It's like an hour long. I'm going to talk to you about quantum mechanics. I love quantum mechanics. That whole shelf right there, that's all physics books because I'm a nerd and that's what I do in my spare time is read about quarks and the speed of light and that kind of stuff. And this is not going to be on any test. This is not related to any speech. You probably will never use it in life, but I like it, so I'm going to make you guys watch it. Okay. So how many of you are going to sit through my hour-long YouTube video on quantum mechanics? I can't see you raising your hands out there, but you typically, I mean, sometimes I get one or two people because they're kind of nerdy like me and they like quantum mechanics too. Sometimes I get somebody who like feels bad for me and raises their hand like, sure, Miss Johnson, I'll listen to you, okay? But most of the time, very few people raise their hands to that. Okay, what if I said 1 hour lecture, quantum mechanics, YouTube video, watch it. There's gonna be a test on this and it's gonna be worth 10% of your grade on Friday. Okay. Some of you now might pay attention, right? You might take notes on it. Going to be a test, 10%. I want to do well on that. Some people might be like, well, 10%, I can still get a B, right? Some people might be outraged that I was going to base part of your grade on a quantum mechanics lecture, and so you might be typing letters to your advisors or the deans or whoever to make sure that this got rectified, whatever. Okay, so, but a few more of you might be watching. All right, I come in, guys, 1 hour YouTube video, it's on quantum mechanics, but I promise you that if you listen to my video and you use all of the principles that I talked to you about into your life in general, you will all become millionaires by next month. Now, assuming you believe me to be credible, and that's a big if, but let's say you believe that I could actually do that. How many of you now are watching the YouTube video? I think you are all raising your hands right now. I'm going to assume you're all raising your hands. I would imagine that you're forwarding it to your friends, that you're taking detailed notes. It's the same lecture that I gave when nobody wanted to listen at first, but now everybody wants to listen. What's the reason? The reason is I gave you a reason to listen. I made the topic relevant to you, okay? You need to take your audience in mind and you need to make a topic relevant to your audience. And most of the time, it's not about just changing the motivation. Most of the time, it's about thinking about the topic and creating a topic that's relevant to your audience. But then what you want to do in the motivation statement is you want to say, hey, I'm taking your needs into account too. And I think it's important for you to listen to this speech because it's going to help you. And here's how it is going to help you. Okay. Here's how learning about quantum mechanics can make your life better. It's something I'm passionate about. Here's why you should be passionate about it too. And so when we talk about the audience's needs, sometimes it can be really tricky because sometimes you don't know what your audience needs. Sometimes it's hard to think about what might be beneficial to a whole audience. I always take a risk and think that millions of dollars might be beneficial to, you know, a group of freshman Wabansi students, right? But, you know, let's say my audience was Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Oprah. And I said, okay, guys, listen to me for an hour and you can make $1 million. Like they would be like, well, I'm losing $1 million in the last 4 minutes that you were talking to me. So this doesn't seem like a great idea. Okay. So you want to think about the needs of your audience. And sometimes you'll be asked to speak at an audience where it's very clear what their needs are. You know, the reason that they're asking you to speak is specifically because of a certain needs of an audience. Then let them know that you understand those needs. If you have a more general audience, that's where you can use some universal motivators like what we talked about with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, things that are motivating to everybody, even a more general audience. If you listen to me, you're going to make more friends. If you listen to me, you're going to be respected more at work. If you listen to me, you're going to be healthier, happier. You're going to be able to reach your full potential, all these types of things. So kind of the point of this is to talk about the motivation statement or the relevance to the audience. Okay. So sometimes what people do is they say, I'm talking to you about this because I like it. It's not about, this isn't about you as a speaker, what motivates you as a speaker. This is about what motivates, why is this relevant to your audience? What benefit does your audience get? How is you providing this information to your audience, helping them to achieve their needs? That's what the motivation statement is. So it should just be a sentence, probably not two, that says, here's what you're going to get if you listen to this speech. Here's the benefits to you. And that not only makes the reader more interested because it's going to benefit them, but it also shows that as a speaker, you're thinking about their needs. You're presenting this information because you want it to be beneficial for them, not just because you want to hear yourself talk. Okay, so that's the motivation statement, a sentence. Why, what is the audience going, how is the audience going to benefit? How are their needs going to be met by listening to this speech? Okay, and then the fifth part of your introduction is the summary of the main points. And again, maybe, so let's say you're teaching us how to do yoga. Your thesis sentence is, today I'm going to teach you how to do yoga. Then maybe you're, in the body of your speech, you're teaching us 3 different yoga positions. Or let's say your speech is how to throw a baseball. Okay, your topic sentence would be, today I'm going to teach you how to throw a baseball. The summary of your main points would be, first I'm going to show you how to throw a fastball. Then I'm going to teach you how to throw a curveball. And then I'm going to teach you how to throw a slider. Okay. And then in the body of your speech, those are your 3 main points. Main point number 1, fastball. Main point number 2, curveball. Is that what I said? Main point number 3, slider. And you go through the steps of each of those. Those are your main points. Okay. You might also organize for this type of speech in kind of chronological order. So the different steps. So first I'm going to teach you this step, then this, then this. If you have like 10 steps in the process of what you're doing, then you might want to kind of group the steps into meaningful clumps. So first I'm going to teach you about all the materials that you need and all the prep that you need to do before. Then I'm going to teach you how to make the recipe, and then I'm going to teach you some tips for serving it or whatever, if you're doing a recipe, for example. So it might be, you don't want to have 14 main points if your thing takes 14 steps. So you might break them into main points, like I said, here's the materials and stuff you need. Here's actually the process of doing it, and here's kind of finishing touches or that type of thing. Okay, so those are your main points in the body of the speech that you'll use. And then again, in the body of your speech, I'm going to be looking for, and this is in the body of the speech, I'm going to be looking for that you cited your sources to add interest in your speech. And I'm also going to be looking for that you, a story would be nice. Okay, a personal story. If you tell a personal story in there, that adds interest to the speech. So that's always a good idea. All right, and then when you look at on the outline, if you look at the conclusion, same thing for the conclusion. You're reviewing your main point. So I've just told you how to throw a fastball, a curveball, and a slider. Okay, you're restating the motivation. By listening to me today, you will learn a new way to get exercise and maybe impress some of your friends with your awesome skills. And then your concluding remarks. And again, your concluding remarks, the best ones relate back to the attention getter. And I didn't have an attention getter, so it's hard to demonstrate that, but you know, you relate back. If you say, you know, 1 in every 6 Americans has baseball as their favorite sport, might be. So now in your concluding remarks, you might say something like, well, now maybe you can be one of the 1 in 6 who really love baseball. That was pretty choppy and lame, but you get the point. Is bringing that speech full circle is what's going to really make a difference in your speech. It really adds something to your speech, I think. Okay, so that is kind of an overview of the main thing is the new introduction. So again, for your introduction, which I will accept until Friday, but if you get it done earlier, I mean, it's just better to get it done as soon as possible to get that feedback. So what I'll be looking for is a 5-part introduction, attention getter. What are you going to do? Thesis, credibility, motivation, summary of main points, and write them out after each of that. Not in a paragraph, in an outline form. Send that to me. That's the rough draft of your intro. The purpose of that is so I can look at it, I can give you feedback. This is a great topic. This topic might be hard to do. This is a pretty good credibility, but I might add this, whatever. Okay. That way, when you're doing your speech, you know, you're getting feedback from the teacher before you actually do the speech. So turn in the intro to me by Friday. The final speech uploaded to YouTube needs to be due by Monday. Again, if you have it done earlier, I'll take it earlier. A few of you, just as a tip, a few of you have left your YouTube videos private. So if you want, when you post it on YouTube, if you don't want the world to see it, but you want me to be able to see it, if it's private, only you can see it. You have to put it as unlisted. If you put it at unlisted, whoever you send the link to can see it. So that's just a little YouTube tip, but everybody did pretty well with that. Okay, so then by Monday, you're going to have your typed outline, your typed works cited, and your link to your YouTube video sent to me by Monday. Okay. And then between now and then, also sometime you're going to log into Blackboard and take the quizzes for chapters 3 through 5. That quiz will only be from the book. It's 10 chapters from each, 10 questions from chapter 3, 10 from chapter 4, 10 from chapter 5. The stuff that I've been talking about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the new introduction, that type of thing, though there will be short answer questions that will be on the next quiz. All right, that will be on the quiz for chapters 6 through 8, which I will put up Friday. Well, maybe I'll put it up earlier. I don't know, but I will put it up, but I don't want to overwhelm people. But so the short answer questions from these 3 videos that I just posted will be on the quiz chapters 6 through 8. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? All right, good luck on these how-to speeches. Please, please, please email me if you have questions. I've been checking my email about 3 times a day. If you need to have a conversation, we can set up like a Google Hangout meeting or a phone call. So let me know whatever you need. People who have been turning in their assignments and doing what they're supposed to be doing have been doing just a great job. So I don't have a lot of critique. I think just keep doing what you're doing because it's working well. So have a great week, everybody. Again, let's stay in touch. There won't be a video next Monday because I will expect your speeches. I'll probably send out a reminder announcement. I'm putting all these videos up now, so there won't be a video on Wednesday either. Because I was going to save these ones for Wednesday, but I figured it might be better if you just had them all now. So instead of putting one up Wednesday, I'll send a reminder of the assignments on Wednesday, and then next Monday your speeches are due. If you have any questions, let me know. You guys are doing great. Let's keep it going and get through this. All right? All right. Have a good day.